I often hear people say, why would you even consider investing in active duty cases? They continuously go down in price, and the supply is still actively growing at a massive rate, since millions get dropped per month. That can't be a good investment, right? Well, I would agree with you, but in that analogy you forget the most important part. Valve releases multiple new cases every year, and those get added to the drop pool. Not only that, every single time they have added a new case, they have also removed one of the older cases in the active pool. That means the active cases don't stay active forever, even if it might seem that way with Clutch. But why does it even matter if a case gets removed? Well, since people are really easily affected by FOMO. Whenever a case gets discontinued, people rush to buy it, and thus the price spikes. You would think people would not be that dumb, since the price always goes back down, but it has yet to stop happening. On top of that, it does become a better investment because it drops way less in the rare pool. There's so many rare cases and they barely get dropped anyway, so it's a really low chance to get it. That's why the investment becomes better and why the price goes up. You might think that people realized this all a long time ago and beat the profit out of it, but nothing is less true. Even though the case drop pool has functioned mostly the same for the entirety of the game's existence, since they introduced skins that is, most people still don't make good enough use of it. For example, are you currently invested in a case that is still actively dropping? Leave a comment, I would love to know, but I think most people will say no. Remember, invested in means actively put money into it, not a couple dropped and didn't sell them yet. But you killed, we can't know what case gets discontinued next, or when Valve will release a new case. That's impossible to plan for. Well, that is correct, but that is why we remove any and all risk from this investment. Instead of choosing one case from the active duty pool, you just pick the two oldest cases and invest 50-50 into each. That way you get a really high chance of one of your cases being discontinued next without having to plan for it. You then simply sell those cases once the hype spike hits and reinvest into the next oldest case. Or simply keep them as a long-term investment which you bought for really cheap. I am also doing this myself right now, so for example I already have a lot of clutch and fracture cases and I'm starting to build up a couple snakebite cases as well. You could look at this a different way as well. For example, I like the fracture case as an investment. The knives are really great, the skins are acceptable, and it's quite cheap still. I think in the long term, in a couple years, it could do quite well, but I don't want to invest after it gets discontinued because the price will be way up. Even if you wait until after the spike, the price is still a lot higher than it is right now. Since I know that Valve will keep releasing cases and they will have to discontinue cases, I know that eventually Fracture is going to get discontinued, so I bought in during the time that they were cheap and I knew for sure that they were going to be cheap, and once they go up and once they get discontinued, I just keep them as a long-term investment and I get to buy them for cheap, guaranteed, and I get to, well, unless they do terribly, but I think they're gonna do quite well, they're gonna go up, and they're gonna go up a lot more because I didn't pay that much for them to begin with. But what if Valve discontinues the third oldest case? Well, that is possible, but not likely at all. If that does happen, simply wait for the next case to be released. The cases you invested in are still good for the next time. That is the wonder about this, you don't have to plan anything and it's essentially easy and free money. It's just a really reliable way to profit, even though it might not be the most efficient way. On top of investing into the two oldest cases, you could also just keep all the drops from the three oldest cases, since the snakebite case is only 10 cents right now anyway. That way, even if they discontinue the third oldest case, you still make profit, and a lot at that, since the case won't have been in the active duty pool that long, so there will be a larger spike due to the limited supply. Valve already discontinuing one of the two newest cases, I don't think that's ever gonna happen, and it has never happened in the past either, so we don't need to worry about that really. Plus, those cases are still really expensive, so discontinuing them would make them insanely rare, and that's just gambling at that point. The only real risk is Valve not discontinuing a case at all, but Valve will most likely never do that because cases getting discontinued is the entire reason the game and the items inside do so well. And people often say, don't change a winning strategy. Once you get a cash cow, don't try to change stuff about it, don't try to make it different, just cash in, and don't change a lot about it, don't put a lot of effort into it, because you already are getting a lot of money. And I'm pretty sure Valve know this, because it's basic business strategy. On top of that, Valve can't stop discontinuing cases forever, since that means less investing, which is bad for the market, and Valve don't do many things actively already, but something that is bad for the market, that they stumbled upon by accident, no, they would never choose to do that that on purpose. And even if they do that, that would mean more cases in the active duty pool. In that case, it means less of each case dropped, which means less supply, which in turn means a higher price. So even if Valve F's up, they still accidentally turn active duty cases into a good investment, which is the investment we're talking about, so that would still be good for you. But that's probably never gonna happen. What could happen is them not discontinuing a case once to increase the active duty pool to 6 spots instead of 5, which it is right now. That could be possible, and it would also mean lower supply of every single active case, which could be good, but this would mean Valve would have to do something differently than they do right now, and Valve are lazy, so they probably won't. If you want to trade for any items but you don't want to lose a big amount of money, you should add me on Steam. I have tons of items up for trade and I accept all items. I also buy and sell items for cash, plus I sell buff balance. My fees are very low, my exact fees or prices on anything can be found on my Steam, plus all my links to my Twitter and everything else. Link is in the description. So, do you currently have some active duty cases? And if so, which one do you think will be discontinued next? I still think I already know, and if you want to get all of the information on the next case to be discontinued, plus my prediction, check out this video. We're getting really close to 1000 subscribers. Once we get there, I have a really nice surprise for you guys, which might include a giveaway. Looking at the statistics, quite a few of you aren't subscribed yet, and you watched the entire video, so you must enjoy the content. I don't see a reason not to subscribe unless you hate free skins. If you're still watching, you are truly awesome. Thank you, goodbye.